Welcome to Lifescapes Podcast, where our mission is to help shape the future through the past. Each week, we will bring you stories of perseverance and share life lessons to help you navigate life's tough challenges. I hope you'll join us each week as we share true stories of real people from the real world. Welcome to Lifescapes Podcast. We're so happy to have you back this week. We have another great guest, and he happens to be very close to the Lifescapes Podcast, and it is producer Eric. Say hello, Eric.
Hello, Eric.
Eric is usually behind the scenes. He is my partner in crime on this. We are along this journey together, but he tends to make sure that my big mouth sounds good every week, which is a full-time job. Am I not correct?
And then some.
Eric has the most amazing story. I just cannot wait to get into it. So we thought better than bringing someone in this week, we were just going to dive into his story and share all the things that he has gone through in his very short lifetime. So, Eric, you ready to get started? Absolutely. Okay. So let's go into a little bit of how we know each other. Eric and I also went to high school together. Believe it or not, this is a small town and we all keep in touch. You never get away from these people.
No.
Which may be good or bad. I don't know.
Both.
So Eric has, tell a little bit about, music has always been a big part of your life, right?
Right.
So how long have you been into music?
I probably started playing when I was 6 or 7 years old, playing guitar, and messing around at that age.
Right. Did you self-taught?
I was initially self-taught. My grandmother played piano by ear in church and guitar, and nobody else in my family did anything like that. I just kind of took up on myself to do that, and I played, learned, and then found a really, really good guitar player. Good, probably the best I've ever heard in my life, and was lucky enough to get him to teach me for several years.
Oh, wow.
Help hone my craft.
Oh, nice. Can you read music now, too?
I cannot.
You cannot read music? Okay, so you are truly by ear.
I'm aware of it.
What is that called when you play without reading music?
Playing by ear.
By ear? Oh, wow. Look at me. Look at me. Bravo.
Yeah,
Carlos. Carlos sounded like she knows something.
Really?
Awesome. So, and I wanted to bring that up because that's such a big part of your life today and how you've had to change things. So, we're not going to go from the childhood up. We're going to pick up around the time we graduate high school.
All right.
Right. So, your first job out of high school.
Oh, in high school was the big Hardee's.
Oh, I worked at Hardee's.
No way. Really?
Yeah, at 16.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I got poached from Hardee's to work at Treasure Island Seafood.
Oh, wow.
The headhunters from Treasure Island Seafood came and poached me from Hardee's.
I was poached by Chick-fil-A at Franklin Square.
No way.
Yeah, I got to open that store up.
You did?
I was the breakfast manager.
You're kidding.
It was craziness. It was the craziest
thing
you've ever seen.
That was like the flagship first standalone Chick-fil-A.
Right.
It's still there.
Right.
Yeah.
I about lost my life over Hardee's.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, big time. So we're in a community called Stanley. Our next community over is called Mount Holly. And we happened to run out of gravy mix one morning.
That's good gravy, man.
Nobody in the world makes the better gravy biscuits than Hardee's.
Gravy biscuit.
Yeah, right.
I love a gravy biscuit.
So Hardee's was
I would take a life over a gravy biscuit.
But Hardee's was basically the only place in Stanley that you could go eat back then. You know, when we were young.
Right. Yeah. There was Tasty
So we
Freeze.
would do $7,000-8,000 every day for breakfast. So we ran out of gravy, and I called the Mount Holly store, and they got tons of it. They sucked. So I go to get the gravy in my car. I go up there. It's torrential downpour. Seriously.
Oh my God.
It's torrential downpour on the way back. I wasn't speeding. I was maybe like 50 miles an hour. And do you know where Billy's Barbecue is?
Of course. Yeah. They used to be Old Bay.
So I was coming back on 27, and the hill there's a store at the bottom of the hill, and there was so much rain it puddled up like a pond, about a foot long. And I was in a little Mazda 626 little sports car, and hit that puddle.
You don't try to call that a sports car, but continue.
Car.
Please continue.
When you're that age, it's a sports car. So I hit that puddle, and I hydroplaned, and I went on the side of the road, hit a pile of gravel, and flipped my car end over end 7 times.
Oh my gosh.
I stuck the back windshield through those little telephone pole borders. I stuck that upside down through the window, broke my steering wheel and the seat from holding on.
Over gravy.
Yeah.
Did you get the gravy back to Stanley?
No, I had to go to the hospital. They wouldn't let me.
You need to reprioritize.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a high school friend that lost her life at that very same place, Kelly.
I did not know that. I remember her, though.
Yeah.
I actually thought about her last week because there's a girl on my Facebook that put a picture up of her sister, and it looked like it was almost haunting. It looked so much the same.
Yeah, that was really sad.
She's such a sweet girl.
She was a really sweet girl.
Yeah, really reserved and things like that.
Yeah, chill.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my Hardee's story.
Back to Hardee's. So move from Hardee's to Chick-fil-A. When did you get what you felt like was your first grown up with benefits and all that job?
Well, from there, I went to a place, a curtain bed and bath outlet that used to make curtains. They made lampshades, all this stuff like that. And had a really good job working this big, long table. It was a cutting table that maybe 100 feet long. You roll the material out back and forth, whatever. That was my best job up to date. It was like $15 an hour. That was a lot back then.
That was a lot. That's still a lot today.
Yeah. And I was there for a couple of years, and they decided to send that department and half the other cutters to Mexico.
Oh no!
Yeah, so
oh my gosh!
I went from there to a temp service and did a bunch of these little Rubbermaid chair jobs.
Right.
Did the little whatever, basically mindless labor type things. And I finally wound up getting on at Freightliner.
Okay.
At the end, and
which is a huge trucking plant in our area.
Yeah.
Still today a big employer of our area.
Right.
So what did you do there?
I started out as a little peon.
Okay.
In a contract company, and as a worker, worked my way up to a supervisor and shift supervisor, all the way up to operations manager. I was there for like 12 years.
Gotcha.
And I almost died there too. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be dangerous work. They're moving heavy equipment around, right?
Well, what we did, we had these things called water blasters, which is basically a pressure washer on steroids times 10.
Right.
So you had to be at least six foot or better, and then 200 pounds just to hold this thing. The gun that shoots the paint off the grates. And I was in a paint booth where they paint the trucks out.
Right.
And using this big machine, and it blew up. It blew up and hit my side, right at my navel on my side. It blew up and shot water inside of my body all the way. The water went inside of my body, under the skin, below my knee.
Oh my gosh.
And I knew I thought I was dead. There's an ambulance thing there. I was fine though.
Oh my God.
The doctor said, if you get crepitus, which is an infection from the water, that they was going to have to fillet me open from my knee all the way up to my chest.
Oh my gosh.
But that didn't happen. But I had this big hole. That was the size of a 50-cent piece. And my unlucky father was the one that got to repack and pack this thing, which was inside of me about 5 or 6 inches.
Oh my gosh.
It was all nasty and crusty. So I would have to come up here to my grandmother's house and lay in the bathtub just to soften up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Ew, stop.
He would pull.
I'll dry heave at the. Stop it. No. Our listeners do not want to hear that. You stop it.
Yeah.
So from there, about this time, 12 years at Freightliner. Yeah. By this time, you're how old?
I don't even remember.
Probably 30?
Something like
30?
Yeah, maybe something.
Okay. So we're building up to something here. Yeah, we're building up to something. So at what age did your life change forever?
It would be about almost 18 years ago.
Okay.
So whatever, I'm 44 now.
So that'd be is that 28? No, 44. That would be 26.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So tell me about that day.
So I was actually had quit Freightliner and was in my lifetime job at Fraser Engineering, which was still is a great company. It was small when we started out. And I was working as a field engineer there, was only there for less than 3 months.
Mm.
And we had our work done one day, and I had a friend at the time. We had a recording studio on his property, and he owned a roofing company and needed some help to put a tarp on a roof. And I didn't think anything about it. You know, it was supposed to take 5 or 10 minutes to do everything. And he winds up falling off of the roof, landing on my head, which I'm on the ground. And then that's when my neck was broken.
So this was a friend.
Yeah.
Just a regular day.
Regular day.
Not part of your work.
Nope.
You just come over to help a friend. You're standing there. You don't even see it coming.
No, I was actually bent down because we'd put a tarp, or he was on the roof. I never got on the roof, but he had put a tarp on the roof and had some string around the tarp that held it together. And I was bent down picking that up, you know, like a catcher kind of thing. So
when he landed on you, do you remember anything?
I remember everything.
You remember everything. Yeah. So
yeah.
Did you, like with a lot of spinal cord injuries, when it happens, you're still moving?
I'm not moving, but I'm breathing.
You're breathing.
Yeah.
And
I could move my neck a little bit, which I thought, but I don't know.
And you're thinking at this point, he just landed on me, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just not, give me a minute, you know, kind of, and I would be dead now. I almost had the people to pull me up, but then I realized I can't feel anything. I can just breathe, you know, and I'm like starting to panic a little bit. And I said, call the ambulance now. This is not good.
Oh my gosh. So this moment in time starts a lifetime journey.
April 30th, 2002.
2002.
Yeah.
Okay. So the day your life changed forever.
Right.
So you go into the hospital. You can't feel from your neck down at that point.
Nothing worked.
Nothing worked.
And they were trying to get the helicopter to airlift me, but there happened to be another wreck somewhere that required both helicopters, so they had to take me in a Jim's big ambulance. And but all I remember much is this trying not to pass out and just breathe. And
you're just scared. Yeah. Were you scared?
I was at peace.
You're a pretty chill dude.
Yeah, I was at peace, kind of, but I was scared. But I was more thinking about my family, and you know, and I'm like, what are they going to think? And they're going to freak out, kind of. But I thought I was gone, but also it felt kind of the same way that it did at Freightliner when I lost a lot of blood there and that injury.
Right.
So
you're like, this is like literally your third strike.
Yeah.
Third big strike.
Yeah.
I mean, boys have broken.
Fourth, really. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I broke my leg on a motorcycle in probably like second grade or something like that. Guy hit me there too.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm used, as people, you know, I'm used to getting hit. And,
so you go in the hospital. From that day, how long were you in the hospital?
Oh, it was a good 5 or 6 months.
5 or 6 months in the hospital.
Yeah.
And mom and dad are by your side
every day.
Every day.
Yeah. One of them comes and the other one goes.
Were you married at this point?
No,
you were not married. No significant other at this point. No.
Just got rid of one.
Yeah. Well,
significant psycho.
What about,
you know how that goes.
What about the guy that fell on you? Is he coming to see you?
The guy that fell on me did not come see me because he went and played golf in a tournament the next day.
The next day after he broke, after he broke your neck.
Yeah.
The next day he's at the in Myrtle Beach in a golf tournament.
Yeah.
Did he know how bad this was?
Oh yeah. I think at the time I was kind of just being chill. So I'll go on or whatever. I don't know.
Probably because you weren't thinking this. No one ever goes to I am a constant optimist. My mind is always trying to say, okay, this isn't so bad, right? This isn't so bad. And you're probably still in your mind going, this isn't as bad as it could be. And then do you start to over time go, oh my gosh, this is awful?
The first week was a blur because they kept me heavily medicated, but they couldn't do surgery because my blood pressure was so low I wouldn't have survived the surgery.
Yeah.
So I'm basically laying there in the ICU with a broken neck, with the collar on and everything, and in and out of consciousness from the medication that was causing all these things in my head,
right.
these delusions. And
right. Are you in pain? Or are you not feeling?
There's no pain. There's no pain because it's like your head up on a jar. That's
right.
So it's a psychological pain that cannot be explained.
Right.
And hopefully none of you have to ever have to go through this, but there's a lot of people that have.
Yeah.
And they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Like yeah. So when you left the hospital at like 5 or 6 months, were you paralyzed from the neck down?
Yeah.
So how were you were in one of those massive wheelchairs?
No, I was in a regular chair. They would, part of the therapy was, the teaching the parents and things how to transfer you and all. Nothing worked,
Right.
Of course.
So as this happened to you, it not only changed everything for you, it changed everything for mom and dad too. Because you were an independent 26, 27-year-old doing your thing. You didn't live with them.
I lived above the garage there.
Okay. Yeah.
Getting ready to build the house. Yeah.
Right. And so you had your stuff going on, and then all of a sudden on this day, it changed everything for you and mom and dad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very scary, but I was lucky to have my mom because I would be freaking out, and she'd rub the top of my head and, kind of let me know you'll be all right kind of thing. But when you're in that state and you're completely dependent on someone else to even blow your nose or feed you or all this stuff, it makes your outlook on life a lot different.
Right.
Yeah.
So at some point, do you start to get feeling back? So spinal cord injuries so when that happens, a lot of times it's a long time before you can truly say, this is life after this injury, till what it takes a long time for it to heal, right?
Yeah. Every injury is different.
Right.
So they classify injuries on the ASIA scale, and it goes from A to D, and D being almost normal, you would be an E.
Mm-hmm.
So A would be a complete cut in the cord.
Okay.
And they determine that by the amount of feeling. They do a little prick test on you and what can you feel and this and that. And I was initially diagnosed as an A.
Okay.
So that means I was no chance really.
Right.
So that's when the doctor said, you're probably never going to walk again.
Right.
So that was kind of a little tough pill, but
right.
But that's when I came to life.
Right.
When he told me that was the day I was born.
I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get out, you're in a wheelchair, mom and dad are doing everything. Bathing,
yeah.
All the things
Feeding,
that we don't ever want mama to have to do again, right? So what about, when did you start to feel, so you're starting to get feeling back?
So I'm starting to, my shoulders would start to work. I could shrug them just a little bit and I could move my arm up just a little bit, and, fingers or anything didn't work. And of course the legs didn't, but my mother was, tickling the bottom of my feet one day, and I didn't know it or whatever. And she's like, your foot just moved. And I'm like, whatever, I'm still kind of not bitter, but I'm just kind of just there. I'm just existing,
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're crazy kind of thing. And she did it again. I looked down and it moved. And then she would do that. And I kind of would feel it. But I would get little things back, but my mind would stay busy. I got to a point where I could move my hand enough to work a laptop, the little mouse pad.
Right.
But I couldn't punch I couldn't do any of the keys. I could just work the mouse pad and then left click with my thumb.
Right.
I got to that. So I was 20 hours a day on the computer researching spinal cord injury, this, that.
Right.
Healing
and this
modalities.
was before really social media, so there weren't any real online groups you could go to. Right.
This was the age of AOL and Yahoo.
We barely had email then.
Right.
Yeah.
But information was out there. It was a lot harder to obtain.
Yeah.
Then, and I'm like, what am I going to do? You know,
you're doing physical therapy nonstop, right?
Yeah.
Is that a few times a week?
They're taking me back and forth to Charlotte,
right,
in a van that they would borrow. And they would have to use a skateboard looking thing to take me from the wheelchair to the van. And it was even though I wasn't doing anything, it was like running a marathon just to go back and forth to therapy.
Right.
You know, and it was like 4 days a week.
Right.
So,
wow.
And it went on for months and months. Looking back on it, it's kind of like, you know, it's when you look back on something you've already did, you get this mental picture in your mind, and that things click. That's like, I really did that, you know, kind of thing. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So at some point, are you starting to have gradual improvements? Are you starting to move arms and things like that? I
am, but it's kind of, all that's blurry because it was over amount of really years, you know, to get, you know, to where I'm at now. And
from that day until you were moving your own wheelchair with your arms, how many years was that?
Well, it was only maybe like little less than a year.
Okay. And so from the day of your accident to you're moving the wheelchair yourself with your arms was a year.
But I wasn't really utilizing. I had to use my fingers and things didn't work. So I had to use a weightlifting glove and push with the palm. So it was really I could get around the house a little bit better.
What about because today you're walking, right? And so how long from the accident until you were walking again?
Well, they had me on, when I was in the inpatient or the outpatient therapy, they had me standing up on this thing, and they just put this harness around you, and it picks you up, but it lets you bear a little bit of weight kind of thing. And they put you on this walker that does the same thing. So I'm probably thinking of, you know, around the year, 14 months, something like that.
Right.
No, I got to where I could stand up.
Right.
That was the big thing. Stand up holding the walker for 5 seconds.
Right.
Then work your way up to a minute and a half.
Right.
So my dad built me a therapy table. I use it to this day. It's like a hard table that's elevated pretty high, so it was easy to transfer from the wheelchair to the table. So I would get on there and have them to do all my stretches.
Right.
And doing what I could on there.
Yeah.
And all the core work and all the crazy stuff you got to do. So
the stuff that the average person takes for granted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So having so many therapists, you learn pretty much everything there is to do. And once you do that so many times, you either learn it and do it yourself, or you just forget it and get on pain pills and watch cartoons or whatever all day.
Was there a moment through this that I know you said when they said you're not going to walk again, that was a moment that you said, move over, buddy, because I'm about to show you. Was there any other moment where you were like, I feel like things aren't as bad as they say they are? Like, was it gradual, or do you feel like when your mom tickled your feet that might have been like, hey, there's hope here?
Well, when he said that, you're not going to walk again, and kind of, it was confusing, but that is the pivotal point when I said, you know, you'll see, whatever. And there was no doubt.
Right.
Whatsoever.
Right. And
the second most pivotal moment was talking to my grandmother, and this was hard on my mom because my grandmother was she had Alzheimer's and was in a nursing home, real bad off, and wasn't verbal for many months.
Right.
On her deathbed. Hadn't said a word. I was in the hospital. My dad was there. My mom was over there with my grandmother. So my mom calls my dad in my hospital room, and we thought my grandmother was getting ready to die, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to tell her I love her. So my dad had to pick up the phone and hold it to my ear because I couldn't do that at the time. And my mom had to do that for my grandmother at the same time. But when I told her, I said, Mama, I love you, she came out of it and she talked to me plain as day.
Wow.
And she knew it. She said, Eric, you're going to be all right.
Yep.
And she said about 2 more sentences and then she died.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's something there, isn't it?
It didn't talk any more than that.
That is something. Well, and I think that, so now, just to bring everybody up to date. So flash forward, 18 years.
Yeah, almost.
You are walking.
Yeah.
You wear braces on your legs.
Yeah, I wear a brace on my left leg. Yeah.
On your leg.
Just because the foot is paralyzed.
Okay. And you use what's the official term for what you use now? Scooter or a...
Well, I just use that to get around here.
Just to get around.
Just mobility.
Yeah, a mobility to help you not have to, wear yourself out getting from here or there.
Right.
But if you go to the grocery store to use those.
Yeah, I use those for right now.
But you are fully walking.
Right.
And
the pain's the only thing that's stopping me now.
The pain is
from my lower back.
Okay.
But it's getting better.
Do you go to therapy still?
I do therapy myself for years and years. Okay. I do probably 2 or 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I do it all right here.
And through this, so if we go back to how we started the episode, right, with the music, was that something as you were like, I can't even feel my hands? Were you devastated about?
That was probably the biggest blow.
Is that I can't play guitar?
Yeah. Losing the fingers.
Right, right. But you use these really cool looking guitars. And what are they called?
Yeah, I play Dobros, resophonic guitars and lap steels. I had an idea that when I got a little bit mobile, I started playing drums again. When my right side came back, and I would use a weightlifting glove on my left hand, and I would stick the drumstick down in the hole of the first finger. And I started playing drums, and it was fun. I could play before, but it wasn't the same. It was like it didn't fulfill that need. Then because that was the primary way I expressed myself.
Right.
Was through the music, even at an early age.
Yeah.
Because I even played with the gospel band when I was like 10 years old. They were all Pentecostals, and I would go out and play gigs with them. My parents knew them real, they got to know them, so they would let me go by myself. But then we played one place, and then the whole church started speaking in tongues and doing all this. I've never been around. I got freaked out and quit.
Yeah, that happened to my daughters one time. They were like, what is that?
Yeah, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on.
When you don't know what, we never talked about that.
You're just a little kid.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So you started to find your way back.
Right.
And find how you could generate music or create music.
Yeah.
And maybe non-traditional guitar, which I see everywhere in your studio. Yeah. How many are in here? Like
about 23.
23.
Yeah, 24.
And you do music every night. You're Facebook Living, right?
I'm either recording or practicing. Then I like to stream my practices because for the simple fact it makes me accountable for practicing.
Well, so you can always go back and look from last year and see if you improved.
Yeah, I'll do that with my YouTube videos. So get a, kind of reference.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a couple major things in the last few years. Well, you got Duke. The Wonder Dog.
Yeah, I got the Wonder German Shepherd.
Yeah, and he will be a service dog.
Yeah, I'm going to, eventually get the papers and all that.
A real service dog. Yeah. Like he can go and he'll wear his little vest.
Right.
He is an amazing creature.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
He is.
And I've always wanted one.
Yeah.
And even back then, before I could do anything, I would just sit around and think all day.
Yeah.
And I thought, I was like, well, one day I want to have a German Shepherd because I had them growing up,
Yeah.
But I wanted to make a harness to go around him, a little leather harness that would hook up to a little red wagon. I could put my guitar and PA equipment in there, and he would go with me and carry the equipment that way when I go play. And
he is. What took you so long to get a dog?
Finding the right one.
One. Yeah. He's a super extra tall one, too.
Yeah. Oh,
he's very tall.
Yeah. He's scary to a lot of people.
Yeah, he likes me, though.
Yeah, he loves you.
It's because I'm goofy.
She'll get here and get out of the car, and I'll let him go on her, and he'll do little tornado circles, and he don't do that with many other people.
Yeah, I love that dog. I'll if it wasn't muddy, I'd roll in the grass with him.
Yeah.
So we got Duke, and then at some point in all of this, when you found love, right? You got married.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
Been married about 13 years.
13 years. So she
Something
was
like that.
willing to go along this journey with you.
Yeah. Oh,
She's
yeah.
an amazing woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you guys meet?
That's the long story.
Just you knew each other from around town.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's in chiropractics, right?
Well, she's into different things.
Right.
Not now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then in the last year, you kind of went a little bit out there on a limb with some treatments,
Big time. So,
and costly treatments.
big costly treatment.
Yeah.
So no exaggeration, I've probably got over 8,000 hours of research, YouTube videos, medical papers, news articles, this and that on the spinal cord injuries, how to heal them, Chinese. I've tried everything, acupuncture. I mean, anything you can think of, pulsed electromagnetic frequency therapy.
Right.
I've tried all these healing modalities, but the one common thing that I always kept coming back to is stem cells. So when people was first introduced to stem cells, they had a bad reputation because they hinted on that they would derive these cells from embryos. Aborted fetuses.
Okay, that's right. That's where the controversy came in.
And it stuck
right
to this day.
But people that have babies can donate their stem cells from just a birth of a baby.
Right. They donate the umbilical cord,
which is
right
full
now,
of stem cells.
and this is a recent discovery about how much is actually in there. But the whole thing about them getting it from the dead babies it never happened, but they hypothesized that, and just, I would not agree with that. I wouldn't take that. But just the fact that they were going to do that, it put the whole stem cell community back 25 years.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Kind of like some of the vaccination talk we have today.
Right.
Right. A rumor by one person with enough power to spread it far and wide
Right.
can really set things back.
Right.
So because stem cells are it's so hard to get them, right?
Right.
It would make sense that it makes them super expensive.
It makes them very expensive because of the red tape that they have to go through. And there's different kinds. I've looked at all these, and you can get them from your own fat cells,
right,
which are called adipose tissue cells.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them from inside of your nose up in the bone. It's called olfactory cells.
Okay.
You can get them, and most of the only surgeons mess with these from your bone marrow. They drill inside of your hip bone and suck it out there. But all these are only good for certain things.
Right.
But the kind I got are called mesenchymal stem cells. And what they do is actually go into wherever your body holds inflammation or wherever it needs, and it activates your own cells and gives it the fuel and all the energy that it needs to regrow these cells. So I'm on 3 months, a little bit over 3 months of getting a very expensive dose of this.
Very expensive, but the community rallied.
They sure did,
The community came together, and when Eric said he was wanting to do this, it was like everybody was, how do I help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister made a thing called a GoFundMe. I'm sure everybody knows this now. A GoFundMe page, and I didn't think too much of it. I was like, I was kind of embarrassed at the first because I just was, want to do it myself. And it took off quick, and I had a couple really big donations, and everything. And we held a community barbecue.
Yep.
And I raised like almost $9,000 there. Doing that, and so
that is crazy.
I was able to do that and pay for it all with that.
So you were telling me that it takes, is it 6 months before you really start to see optimal improvement?
The initial, everybody's different, how they react, if they react, and what, that's the only really downside about, there's a possibility you might not get what you exactly want. But usually they say 3 months is when you first start feeling things, and it grows on from, it continues to grow, but from 3 to 9 upwards to a year is what you're getting back.
Right.
And I've already noticed a bunch, just but in the 3 months.
You even said pain, the other day rain always causes a lot of pain. And the other day it was going to rain and you didn't feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's improvement.
Yeah.
So a couple of things for, how did you know where to go to even start the conversation? For anybody that might be, dealing with something like that, how did you even know who to call?
Well, initially, I was looking to go to Panama, South America. They were the big, because when stem cells were ran out of the country, the doctors and the American doctors, they went to Panama and made this central place. And that was even going to be harder to get, travel and all that. So I was going to go there up until till last year, till I found about the place that I went to, which was Charlotte Stem Cells, which was a simple advertisement that I'd seen somewhere. I was aware that they did stem cells around. Even some doctors in Kings Mountain, just local doctors, are doing it, but they were doing it from the fat derived.
Okay.
And I really, after learning about the mesenchymal, I wanted to do those.
Yeah. Especially if it's going to cost that kind of money, you want to make sure you're getting the biggest bang for your buck.
Right.
So
I started looking. There's some other places too, and I actually went to another place in Ballantyne that does the bone marrow, and just did not get a good feeling from the guy.
Sometimes that's what it's all about. If you feel like the person that's going to do the procedure is invested in your future and your improvement,
I'm telling you, when something like this happens to you, something changes inside of you, and you see people for what they are and not what they do. You can just kind of look, but you look behind, almost through people,
right?
In intentions and all. And I think a lot of that comes from the faith that you have, and that's like the number one thing. We had prayer when I first got hurt. We had multiple churches pray, and I would pray, and like you wouldn't believe, and I would meditate. And this is, for anybody going through anything, this is what really helps the most. And I attribute this to God foremost. But I would envision things like where my spinal cord was broken, where it was cut almost all in half. I would sit there for hours on end. I would listen to music, and I would envision like they were little tiny ant creatures that were inside of me. And they would make these little scaffolds. Yeah. And they were up there, and they're building it together. But I'm watching this go on like a movie. I mean, when you don't have anything to do, right, you can go places in your mind that you would not believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's where it's all about. It's the faith and not having doubt. That's what prayer is for.
Right.
You just don't say a couple words, and be done with it. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
So the people, if you're going through something, you need to believe that you're already healed through that. And wherever your mind goes, your body will follow.
Right.
Even if it's not immediate, it's going to happen.
Well, and let me just, as we've told the story, if we go back to the day it happened, if there was one thing you could say to somebody that if this happens to you, do this, this, and this, right? So if somebody is in a car accident, or you're a passenger and the person that you're with is severely injured, or you have a trampoline accident, or you fall off a set of stairs and you think you've hurt your spinal cord,
right?
What would you say? Like, don't mess around, do this, this, and this. There's
been a bunch of people, you would not believe it. I counsel spinal cord injury people for all these years now, 18 years, from just people that's way worse than me to people that's, broken their necks and not had any kind of neurological damage. What you have to do, if you even think that you have a neck injury, even if you got to go get checked out then. I've met probably just in our county 5 people that's had broken necks that didn't know it. And that all they had to do was turn their head the wrong way with that broken neck, with the way the bones were broke, and they would have been dead. Yeah. So you take care of yourself.
And just, is it about not moving in that incident? The less movement, the better.
The less movement, the better.
So I think, if you're listening to this and, we see all the time these kids get hurt on trampolines. That's, at the trampoline parks and that kind of thing, don't take any chances. Our mind wants to say, this is okay. We're going to be okay. But just if you suspect or you heard something crack or you're feeling weird, don't take any chances, because your next steps could dictate how bad this is going to be.
Yeah. The spine's very, very, very fragile. It's the consistency of Jell-O. Yeah. Like a day-old Jell-O.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So.
Right. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to ask is, if you're this person supporting somebody that is going through this, what are the things that can be, what was good to you through this? What can people do? What should people not say if they're supporting somebody going through this?
Well, if you're supporting somebody, first of all, you got to realize that the person that's there going through this might be a little bit cranky because they don't know if they're going to live or die, and they've just had a life, changing experience. That's not the person. That's not the person that's doing that. That's the pain talking a lot of times. A lot of times it's the pills.
Yeah.
So you need to have patience with that.
And thick skin. Yeah.
And thick skin, because I've seen a lot of that, and a lot of there's always some kind of conflicts with that. But not treating them like a little baby. Oh, poor little thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
What about when you're in the wheelchair, and how what about how people might have treated you when you're in the wheelchair?
Well, they treat you, a lot of them, they either want to avoid you because they don't know or whatever, or a lot of people they'll come up to you and they're just complete idiots.
Right.
They'll come up to you, oh, what happened to you? What? Oh, was you in a drunk driving accident? Da, 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 da. I've had all kind of things happen.
Well, and I think I remember somebody that was in a wheelchair said that people won't make eye contact with you.
They won't.
Yeah.
No, you're the scourge.
Right.
You're just like the kid that nobody would sit with in school.
Right.
And all your friends that you thought was all your best friends because you'd party and, you would protect them and this and that. They don't come around anymore.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Either I don't know if they don't know what to say or whatever, or I think it's a little bit deeper than that. So you're going to experience that.
Yeah.
And, it's not fun, but it's not the end of the world.
Right.
It's the beginning.
It is. And through these things, you figure out who your real friends are, and who the people are that actually care about you. And, whether you can help somebody once a week or once a month, try to put yourself on a schedule to say, hey, Eric, let's plan to go out to eat once a month, right? Or let me bring in takeout once a month and we'll sit down and have a dinner, right? Or whatever it is.
It's the thought.
It's the thought,
yeah,
right?
It doesn't matter,
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't have to be anything that costs you money. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's watch a movie together, whatever it is.
Whatever it is needs to be followed through, because we're in the age now where people's, I got you back. Anything you need, call, I can come move this for you, that, blah, 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 blah. Then they don't follow through, even if it's a 5-minute task.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing I was going to ask about is, as someone is, if there's any way that we can promote the stem cell, is there, what can people do there?
Well, what I'm doing, I am taking chronological videos of my progress. And I have a friend that's a really talented videographer that went with me to get the procedure, and he's going to be doing some interviews with the doctor and everything. But I'm giving my honest, everything that happens, what progress I get, so the long-term thing. So that's what I think that you should do, is just any kind of progress you make, always document it.
Right.
Because everything runs in together all the time.
Right.
But the main thing I want people to get out of my story is when something happens to you, whether it be a physical injury or any kind of tragedy, you need to have the mindset that you're going to keep going and you're going to get through. Immediately if you have that mindset, you're going to be a lot better.
And I think that is the key thing. And, as we talked about your connection to music and finding that one thing that gives you hope, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, it might just be that your own desire to improve. And as Eric said, not every injury is the same, right?
No, right.
And there are people.
Not every doctor's the same.
Not
too.
every doctor's the same. And there are people that are going to have a harder journey, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are people that it will not be that they are walking in 10 years.
No,
and that's not because they are not as determined. It's because their injury is different.
Right. But
So we
those
don't-
same people that are having it physically harder are having a better life than people that's not even half as hurt as them.
Right.
Because those people that are half as hurt as them are hurting themselves.
Yep.
They get caught into a depression. They get caught into the pity game. And a lot of that, unfortunately, is because of prescription pain medicine.
You're so right about that.
I've seen a lot of people go down. I've had a lot of friends that's been that are no longer with us from that.
And I think that I always, when I have something happen, I always say, I got a 24-hour pity party or whatever it is. If you're allowed time,
right?
You're allowed to be upset. Your life has changed, right? What you thought was your future is not anymore, right?
You just don't hang around in that area.
Right.
You
It's a different future.
get it out of your system.
Right.
And get on with your lives.
Right. So I think that as you figure it out, you just can't let yourself go to the dark place.
Right.
And
that's a bad place to be.
It is a bad place to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was there for a long time.
Right.
On and off.
Right.
I know I didn't want to exist that way. I didn't want to live the rest of my life at whatever capacity there.
Right. So as we wrap this up, I know the future is bright, right?
Oh,
the
yeah.
future
Doing
is really bright.
Mm-hmm.
You've got stem cells in your body right now.
They're working like crazy.
Their little overtime.
Yeah.
You've got a wife. You've got an amazing new creature in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, doing well.
Right. So from 18 years to now, the journey has been bumpy. It's hard.
A little bumpy. Yeah.
It's been hard, and you have not given up, and you have even taken the time to help others get through this. So if there's we have a group on Facebook, and it's Friends of Lifescapes.
Right.
Friends of Lifescapes Podcast.
Right.
And as I mentioned, Eric and I are fully partners on this podcast. I'm a little bit more of the chatty Cathy, and he's behind the scenes getting us set up. But if you find that group and you ask to join our group, that's a good way to get in touch with Eric if you're going through a spinal cord injury.
Right. And I also have a really popular Facebook group of it's called Spinal Cord Injury and Recovering from Spinal Cord Injury and Neurological Damage.
Right.
People all around the world.
Yeah. So find those resources, reach out, and, look for ways to connect with people that have been through this. And one of the things is just, going back to the work your mom and dad did with you. I mean, how do you ever thank them?
You can't. Luckily my dad had just retired and all this and that. But I don't know where I would, if I didn't have them and I would have been into a rest home or something like that. I don't know if I would have kept my wits about me or whatever. Right. But that's something that hope no parent even has to go through.
No.
Several of our friends that we know are going through the same thing.
I know from our high school group, I knew three.
Yeah.
I know three just boom, boom, boom off the top of my head that have spinal cord injuries.
Yeah.
And then I know one more that we didn't go to high school with, and we went to high school with a relative of hers.
Yeah.
And that is a lot.
They're everywhere, just in the area here.
Yeah.
But what happens to the people is they have this thing happen to them, and all their friends and family don't understand. Oh, she'll just get better. He'll get better, and blah 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 blah. And don't really care enough about them, and they get swept under the rug, and they're sitting in a house somewhere, watching TV all day or whatever. And only communication they're getting through people is like social media or whatever. But there's a bunch of people out there that's been forgotten.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they're still got a big old brain in their head to have some conversations. Yeah. And I mean, now we have a friend of ours that is a quadriplegic from the neck down. She teaches dance. Yeah. Did you hear what I just said? Quadriplegic dance teacher. Look at Johnny Erickson Tata. Yeah. Christopher Reeves when he was alive. There's that actor that was in Galaxy Quest. He's a black guy, and he was not paralyzed in that movie, but he is still an active working actor after a motorcycle accident that paralyzed him from the waist down. So there is life after this. Oh yeah. And we're at the pinnacle of all these things turning around, not only just the stem cells, but the people that are getting newly injured. There's new techniques that helps them heal a lot better than they could before. Right. So it's a really exciting time to be alive. So we just wanted to bring Eric's story. It's an amazing journey he's been on. Some of the things we just wanted to be able to share, like, what you as maybe the person that's caring for somebody or a friend or someone that just encounters them at the grocery store, how you know how to behave. Yeah. And, we're nobody's perfect. We don't know how to do these things right all the time. If you see somebody out and they need it, you want to open the door for them and they don't want you to, that's fine. But always offer, Always offer. But don't try to be a burden on them. Different people act different. Yeah. Yeah. They can't reach something on the top shelf. No. Yeah. That's a big one, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyway, we really appreciate you sharing your story. Yeah. It's a good story. Yeah. And with a happy ending. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good It's not thing. Even ended yet, actually. No, it's in the happy middle. Yeah, happy middle. Yeah. So thank you this week for joining us for Lifescapes Podcast. And we hope to have you back next week with some other interesting story that we plan to share. And at some point, we're going to share my story. And giddy up, y'all. It's a crazy one. Oh, no. We might have to wait till my dad is gone so that we don't incriminate for fear of incrimination. No, I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have you heard of Happy Coffee? Well, make your morning routine happier and smarter with Elevate Coffee. Elevate your mornings even further with new Elevate Nitro Coffee. Elevate Nitro relies on clinically proven ingredients packed into a delicious, high-quality blend. Each cup of Elevate Nitro helps generate efficient blood flow, boosts nutrient and oxygen delivery, naturally improves fatigue and performance, and increases energy and endurance. Kickstart your routine with Elevate Nitro, the smarter coffee way to start your day. To learn more about this and other products available through Elevate, please visit my independent Ellepreneur website at www.homegirlgethappy.com. That's www.homegirlgethappy.com to learn more.